Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you out to tonight's meeting. It's a special meeting. To that, it's call the meeting to order. Roll call. city charter, the city can use a city's canvassing board or the county's canvassing board. Whereas the city has an election in November of 2026, but the county does not have an election. Therefore, the county will not be convening a canvassing board. Therefore, the city must create the city's canvassing board. Whereas the city's canvassing board will be governed by all applicable state laws, including the Florida statute section 102.1.141. And there be resolved. Now, at this is the canvassing board. We have a space for 3 members of the canvassing board and a first alternate and a second alternate. They would be going to the Board of Elections, and they will be given instructions as to how to conduct the canvassing board. Been on it before, I don't remember what it was, but anybody want to give us input?
I can kind of,
Sure.
so
Can I get a type error, correction first?
what's that?
That's 2025, not 2026. For the election.
Yeah.
Next.
When the county has a canvassing board, I believe the city uses the county's canvassing board to canvass our results. But not every time we have an election, we have to have an election. So we need to create a canvassing board. And the statute that is referenced in there is the one that governs the county's canvassing board. The county canvassing board is made up of the chairman of the county council, a county court judge, and a supervisor of elections. If, and as long as, if one of those are up for election, has opposition, then there's a process in there about who to select to replace the person who's in opposition. So looking at it from like what the county does and what the law provides, we probably ought to have, there's only 2 people on this commission potentially that can serve, Shirley, because you don't have opposition and you weren't up for election. So one of the 2 of them can serve. The closest thing we have to a supervisor of election would either be General Roxanne. And I think the last time we did it, the other one, our administrator and our assistant administrator served along with 1 member from the commission. Can't be 2 members from the commission because then all of a sudden you have a potential meeting that you have to deal with sunshine. I would think the alternates, probably you could go to the residents at that point, if you want to appoint residents as alternates that they can't serve, because I don't know that we have, once you get past, we don't have other county judges, we don't have other members of the council that we could put on there, which the county would, they would appoint another member to, somebody from the judiciary, they would appoint someone from supervisor elections, or somebody from the county council. So, and I think looked at from historical, that's the last time we had a city canvassing board. I think we had 1 elected official, and then we had the administrator and the assistant city administrator. So, my understanding that was the last time we had that.
Any comments? Any volunteers?
I'm happy to serve, sure.
Okay. Citizens?
Alan, you want to start?
Alternates, there will be the alternates.
I mean, my suggestion would be 1 person from the council, the administrator, and the independent Roxanne serve. And then as an alternate, definitely do one of us.
So an alternate would be Roxanne or?
No.
It's going to be Jim, Roxanne, and
The
Joe.
suggestion is Jim, Roxanne, and either Charlotte.
And Heather.
And Heather, whichever.
Go ahead, I had it last time.
Yeah, so Heather can do it. That would be your canvassing board. And then from a point to alternates, we've also introduced that to alternates. I think you can default back to, you can default back to Charlene for one of them if in the event Heather couldn't serve. But then
I could be an alternate.
you could be an alternate for Heather. And then
It's, hard for me to make
questionable, I would say it's questionable.
Okay. We'll go with Donato's suggestion.
Okay, we have contact, we have contact Roxanne.
I will.
Okay,
Yes, he
so
said
we have Heather as the canvassing board member, Jim and Roxanne, on number 2 and 3. First alternate will be Charlene, and the second alternate will be Derek Neal. Is that approved?
Sounds good to me.
You want me to read the title
Yes.
to it, and then you all can go to approve it for those names? Resolution 2025-09, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lake Elmo, Florida, creating a canvassing board, appointing members, providing duties, and termination, providing effective date. And the names that the mayor said will be inserted.
What happens if one of the alternates can't make it?
We'll have to come back and have another special meeting to appoint somebody. Or we can fall back to the law, I think.
That's why you got 2 alternates.
It's only in cases like Roxanne can't make it, then you're all going to pick up. You or
Right, but I'm saying,
person.
yeah, okay, because I can't be like 100%.
You can only be other things.
Better be.
Okay, you have a motion?
Well, I think the alternates have to attend the training session, just in case.
Whatever that will be.
Yeah.
I think they don't have to go over there to do the.
You go and watch
It's
the
very
evaluation of the machine.
They run a test on the machine, and you go through the process as if you were actually doing it.
Okay.
Takes notes on it.
Because the main role is that, and then the other is if there's a dispute on absentee ballots.
Yeah.
So there's, you never get to touch ballots, you never get your machines.
At least they got rid of the hanging chat machine.
And the one time I served, I kind of jokingly said, you know, where's the eraser? They didn't like that at all.
It's like making jokes in the auditor. They have different
No sense of humor in that at all.
That's like acting up on an airplane, isn't it?
Exactly.
Did you see the 2 guys with suits in the back?
I can say one thing about Cookie and I, when we ran, and it was a election that was only by 3 votes, and he and I got to see something that you will never see again, which they took all of the ballots that were not for him and not for me, and they showed it to us. And we got to see something that we'll probably never see again, is the ballots before they were determined. And out of that race, we wound up with 3 votes that distinguished between the 2 of us, and that gave us our race. But that was 2008, so go back a while. Okay, so.
Hopefully they showed you ballots after the envelopes were opened.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
signatures and no names.
It would be interesting. Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Any comments? Any comments from the public?
Comments from the audience? This is your time to speak. None? Hearing none?
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-09.
I'll second it.
Motion moved in second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? It is so moved. Okay. Next thing on our agenda is the rental of the CAC, Creative Organization. We have Nadia Zampanadas, Retail Strategy Review. They have 2 documents on here. I have a letter here, is that from Retail Strategies? Yes.
No, I put a packet in front of each one of you.
You put that back?
I emailed that out to you ahead of time, but I brought hard copies.
Oh, okay.
These
yeah.
were the 3 proposals that they sent over from the company that we got information from that for the cities.
Are we ready? Do we have anybody here from either one of these?
Nadia's representative.
Not from retail, I mean, if if something happened from there, then we would write them, invite them in. But this was a whole discussion on CAC, whether you're gonna market or how to do downtown. So this was kind of, how do you wanna go forward?
This is just a marketing application that they're submitting for reviewing.
No, the empanadas came to you at the last meeting and talked about wanting to use the CAC for their business.
Right.
And if you're gonna do that, then you need to open it up to any business and take proposals so that you see what's in the best interest of the taxpayers. And so I think their letter was put in here because that was the basis for the initial discussion. So you're not here to make a decision on whether or not you rent to them. It's kind of what you want to do to that building.
Okay.
If you want somebody in there, then how do we advertise for that? What are you gonna look at? And then out of that discussion came the fact that the three of you, I think, all got information, and I did too, from Retail Strategies at Fort Worth City. So I just contacted them and got what their prices were, you know, if you were to engage them to come in to help market Lake Helen. So that's just part of the discussion. It's not specific to the CAC, but it could be. I mean,
Okay.
it could be them saying we have a building and it's got this stuff in here. Can you recruit somebody to come in? There's a cost to that.
All right. We're also looking to do some commercial outreach and get some other input as to what we can do with the city, we can participate in the city in general. So right now, we're just stuck with what are we going to do with the pre-participation. Any more comments?
Well, at the last meeting, we were in agreement that they would send out an advertisement that we're looking for any businesses that would like to utilize the Creative Arts Center for a business. We're only asking for that one building. Whereas Marketing Strategies, they look at the whole town and how to bring businesses to help the town.
Jim, can I ask you a question, just to cut to the chase, since I got this today? What is,
I did email it to you guys last week.
I know, but
Okay.
I was in ICU.
All right.
So, just to cut to the chase, can you tell us what the prices are? Is that your?
Yeah, that's why I had the cover letter on top. They broke it into basically three proposals. The first, they call the recruitment and partnership, retail and commercial. And that requires a 3-year commitment from the city at $50,000 a year. So that's $150,000 for them to do complete analysis and whatever, and then try to recruit folks that are here. Their main focus is the blocks and what have you. So then there's another section in that break down in the sense of, like, they would come in and train people in your community, to be recruiters that maybe would go after like mom and pops and smaller businesses. That proposal for training and education that they would provide was for a total fee of $25,000. And then what they refer to as the downtown potential, and the proposal for your downtown is, again, a 3-year commitment. It's 45, 25, and 25. So they're not cheap. Now, they have, data at their fingertips. When I was on the phone with them, they were able to tell me, like, I'll give you an example. The Circle K here in Lake Helen is the 4th most profitable Circle K in Volusia County. Now, there's 1,000 kids that come here Monday through Friday, so you have a lot of traffic, let alone the community, but so you have a lot of outside traffic, that will hit there. So they're able, just with their data, they'd have to explain better where they get that at, but, I will tell you, there's nothing really complicated about recruitment. It's rooftops. And you don't have rooftops. It's very difficult to get folks to come in. I mean, the Romas makes it, Papa Pizza makes it because they get a core business from the community, but then they also get the lunch business and You also looked at, we don't have a strip center sitting there, you know, maybe the CAC, so even if you had something, it's like, where would you bring that? You know, so we don't end up with buildings sitting around saying, we're trying to fill these because somebody's pulled out and we lost a tenant. So we're a little bit of a different mix in the sense that we don't have that retail to bring them to. And so I think this would be a little premature, that's just my opinion.
Well, I did see the numbers, and then I was wondering, well, is there a smorgasbord? Can we not pick and choose out of each?
Well, I mean, if you, I guess if you wanna do the big bang, I mean, you probably do the 2-3 years, you know. Now, for 20 or 25,000, they'll come in and train you, but then are they gonna train the CA? Are they gonna train, the deputy clerk and Aaron and Debbie? I mean, are we gonna be the recruiters? I mean, and I'll be honest, that's probably not practical in terms of that. But they were just adding into this because it was kind of the overall discussion of, you know, what you want to do with Lake Helen. And, you know, if you focus strictly on the CAC, then Roger's right. And then we would go back and, you know, put out an RFP saying we're looking for proposals, you know, to utilize that building.
I just wanted to make sure I was there because I didn't really think it on it, so. I just need a short script.
They've been around a little bit, and I think when I was in Woodstock, Georgia, we had them come in, but again, city investment, rebranded and what have you, and again, now today that'd be different because their population is tripled from what it was when I was there in terms of that. But they were north of Atlanta, you know, just a little bit out of the Beltway. But, you know, I think their expertise is probably helping me fill empty centers and strips and trying to talk to big offices to come in and get that down and put a dot in it, and Publix, anybody's no different. You count the rooftops in an area, and so something specific to just Lake Helen would have to rely on not just Lake Helen rooftops. They'd be spilling over into the land of Deltona, you know, in a sense there, and then you compete with much bigger retail. Shorter scale.
There's no guarantees for that, so, okay.
Well, the CAC is the only application that we've had a proposal for. In general, I believe that, our city is not in a position to, develop we don't have an economic development process in our city. We have businesses that are open and they're there for a while. But as Jim pointed out, the main driver of our city, if it's the Circle K, if it's the pizza shop, what else, how else do we bring business into our city? That's the question that I don't think we, as a commission, have sat down and had any kind of conversation about. But when we do our budget, which is coming up, we are counting our dollars that are based on what's in our residential stock. And because of the number of properties that are older in their existence, their property taxes are much lower. So I think the number was about less than 50% of the taxable revenue coming from property is what we're generating. In other words, there's another 50% of the property value that is not being basically supporting our city, but because they've been here long enough that their taxes are a lot lower. So we don't have any, as I say, we don't have any businesses that are bringing, as they say, what's to the table, and that we can use it to increase our revenue. The largest employer of the city is our city Ivy Lawn School. They've just expanded. They've just increased their property value. They've just increased their properties that would be taken off the tax roll. They've right now we have the CAC, and that is an argument, that is a proposition that we are, I think, can make some decisions on. How do we move about it? Do you want to use what we have, do something else that you want?
Well, as like Jim Gleason said, we need to go out and advertise it so that other businesses that may want to use it can send in their suggestions. And, then we sit down and go through them, and like we did with the last time when we had the gym station come in there, we go through them and see which one is the best one to fill the spot.
Exactly. I think I had a discussion with George, as though he came up with a proposal that we would be asking for additional RFPs to come in, but we'd have to describe what it is that we want in the RFP.
Well, what we would describe is we have a building,
Yeah.
square footage, and that is available, and that, we'd say it's got a kitchen, I mean, I don't know how much of that is practical, but I mean, but that all can be put in, and then people wanna come in and look at the building, which somebody
It's
would.
got a kitchen that has to be overhauled.
Yeah, I mean, so we put those back out there and just say this is a square foot building in Lake Helen, and the city is looking for proposals on who would wanna occupy.
So that would be our opening, is to ask for other ideas to utilize the CAC.
Because, you know, going back on, you know, what we were saying, I think with Charlene, I mean, you know, and granted, you know, social media is aware of all this, and this is not a good or bad statement, but this is not a community that embraces growth. And that's not, it's not a good or bad, that's just the reality, each community has to be able to live on. So, we've got folks that are opposed to 10 houses being built on the back, or the, north of the city, you know, housing projects coming in, or even the, Harlem property. I mean, so you've got an element there where if you don't want growth, it's kind of hard to turn around and try to attract businesses. So you recognize that there is a difference. I mean, we've got people that are opposed to Main and Summit, they're opposed to commercial development at I-4. So I mean, so you've got to create some environment that either says you're looking to enhance your community, or you're willing to live as a residential and rely on a small number of people paying taxes.
Question, what did the city do, with Sumatras? Did we have your terms with it was on the door? Or
That, I don't know, I have to look and see, I don't know, for my time.
That was proposals that was presented, because they already were in Sinatra's in Casadega with their evening crowd. They wanted to approach a morning crowd. That was kind of what we had.
and it was already a restaurant.
It's already a restaurant. And it had become a restaurant by the fact that it was supposed to be a canteen for the kids, and then it turned into a full-fledged restaurant, and then became a full-fledged restaurant. Every time we did our budget, we were always in the red. It stayed in the red, and because it was providing a service to the community, the commission allowed it to continue. But at a certain point, we lost funding that was supposed to take the staff under the ECHO grant. So the whole process was a grant proper way to do this is to put in proposals and have other people, or other businesses make that same pitch. And then that would come to that conclusion as to which one that we were. But to be honest with you, I think it would be easier to bring that to the table, to have multiple, entities. We'd have to present the EFP as to how we would want it to be structured.
Then it'll come back to you, but, you obviously want the proposed use and activities, hours of operation, proposed rental, anything that they're gonna request from the city, put that in the proposal. And, all evaluate. Their history, their work history in that area, what is their resume, if you will. Should you evaluate that? Because most of you understand if this goes to a for-profit use, that property is going to become taxable. So right now, tax-free, because we own it. But if we lease it to a for-profit business, it's going to be taxable. So we're going to have to address that issue along with rental income. There's going to be a cost that goes up there that the user's going to have to pay the taxes just to put us in a position we are right now. We don't, we have to have more money to make money on top of that. If they don't pay the taxes, we're losing money. We don't want to do that.
Well, we can go and find out how Deltona operates the center because they have
We're already
breakfast.
taxed once.
They have breakfasts every morning.
They made it taxable. And we were already taxed once. We had the
Denver,
there and Sinatra's there, it was taxable. And we had the user pay us monthly the taxes that would be due come November. So we had the money in hand, so we could make sure it was paid. We had to, once, and then they allocated between, because you remember at the time we got the museum, the back part. They didn't tax the back part, it was only tax a portion of it that was used. It was actually less than was actually used for the for-profit restaurant. So the allocation wasn't bad, but it was telling you if we do this, there's gonna be the potential, there will be more money, it's gonna become taxable property, there's gonna be an outflow of cash that's gonna be owed on the property taxes. So just have to know that, just have to make sure that's addressed by whoever the auditor is.
even if we get into a break-even situation with that, they pay the taxes, whatever, you still have a building that's not sitting there rotting away.
Sure.
That's gonna cost us money in the long run. So, I'd rather see it being used if they're, just, even if
That's
they're
what
paying
they're
the
gonna take, it
taxes.
needs some repairs.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
And I gotta hand it to Nadia's for kicking us in the pants and saying, do something.
When it's said and done, they may be,
Maybe they'll choose.
they may be your only out.
I know.
We don't know, so I mean, so it doesn't exclude them, but at least, you've got to open it up so you're gonna have somebody come back and then accuse later and say, I would give my city that.
Is the idea that, the city could, or is it an idea that the city could have the property appraised for the commercial value that it is? And to be looked at as commercial? Because it hasn't been appraised since it was built. And although
If you're worried about getting fair market value rental, that would be something worthy of doing, but, I'm not sure that's the goal. You may just want to say, evaluate the proposals and we want it to be used, and you don't want to lose money, but you're also, as Charlene said, have someone in there occupying it, using it, the public using it, someone maintaining, repairing, maintaining it. So it may not be that important to get top dollar for the rental value, as long as the use is what you want. And I certainly wouldn't say base the selection solely on who offers the most money. You would want to evaluate the whole thing, the whole package, proposed use and all that stuff.
do we have an asset base of what the city's property owners, what we own as a property? Does that
Yeah, we have an asset list, that's what we,
Val Hagstrom, 291 South Euclid Ave. Just wanted to just say, if you're gonna do the proposals for the business, for the CAC building, just have like a time limit of when we wanna stop accepting them, maybe like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, just to get them in so we can
Well,
make a
listen a little
decision.
bit more.
Yeah. And then, obviously, what you touched on, a bare minimum of what we need to run the building, taxes, electric, all that stuff. The tenant pays all that, you know, just, there's potential there, and as we grow as a city, and I would just hate to be locked in with a tenant for a certain amount, and then after a few years, we get more busy, and they're way more profitable, and then we're undercharging rent, so I just hope someone's watching out for that, or figure out a way to word that. And then also, I don't know if I need to speak later on this, but the shuffleboard courts are right there. I know maybe they need some repair or something, but it'd be really nice to be able to either rent that out as well for events, or get them in use where, people in the community could use them, or pay for the day or whatever. Might be a nice, thing to bring back to the community.
Thank you.
Joseph Rushmore.
I just want to bring up again about splitting the building, to still have the building used for community use on the one end. Me and the back, we rented out the building for far less than what it should ever go for anyway. For somebody to come up with that kind of money to rent the whole building, so we get the loss of the use of that. I know back when the teen center had the building, there was a lot of people that would use those small rooms that have been used for the museum recently. For parties and stuff that can be rented out and still added revenue to the city. And also keeping it to the community's use of what it was built for. It's just, in my opinion, on it.
Thank you.
Nancy Weary.
Nancy Leary from 35 West Delaware. Just wanted to bring up, Bush County Economic Development, we pay our taxes into that. I'm not sure if that's a source, instead of using, the leak that was, Mr. Gleason brought up, where it costs us money. Maybe this is an avenue that, can bring business, economic development into our city without extra fees.
Thank you. So,
We also belong to the Central Florida Economic Development.
Let's use them. Save our tax dollars.
all right, we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? That's it. Thank you. We are now to the Lake Helen Villa Water Building attachments. I have a letter from Lee Everett.
I can address that, Mayor.
Please do.
Okay. Back when Lee was here, there was some issue, as we know, with water meters throughout the city, and so, an agreement was made with the villas that they would pay $877 a quarter, no matter what their bill says. And they paid that, and they were paying that up until the new meters went in. The new meters have gone in. So, my recommendation to the commission is that we need to tell them that from this point on, they now pay their bill what they're billed, not $877 a month, and it shows that it's been running $1,400, $1,500 a month. So, and then in reference to the past due, my recommendation is the commission waive that, because I don't think there's any way I could look at them and tell them how much of that $30,000 is actually theirs or not. There's no way in terms of that. And while it's funds for the water department, if you don't write it off, to them to collect that. So I'm asking for two things tonight. One is that the deal now is over because the new meters are in and they've been in 2 cycles. And that, go ahead and waive the balance, and then from this point on, they've got, whatever that bill is, they get paid.
So they've been in for 2 cycles, so shouldn't they at least pay that money for the 2 cycles?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree there, but I mean, so you'd be probably looking at about, I think one bill was around 1,400, one was 1,500, yeah, so in terms of there, so, that could be there, meaning that's not unvalid to say that the new bills that went in. In fact, we just gave them 5 meters for internal that don't have anything to do with the master, but it's off in their clubhouse and laundry room and what have you, so that they can better, or they want to be able to actively control what happens. But yeah, you could do that. So I mean,
I would suggest if we're gonna forego all of the past,
yeah.
that we don't forego those 2
Okay.
billing cycles. That's just my suggestion.
Those 2 billing cycles though have been, they came forth based on the new water meters?
Yes.
Okay, so
This
that would be a
last
bill,
quarter,
oh,
July's bill, it was like 15 something.
okay, 1,500.
So, yeah, so they less than $800 for each cycle, so it'd be probably $1,500 might be.
What kind of rate are they paying there? Because I didn't know, I just turned it on. Are the rates the same throughout the
No,
city?
they're a commercial account. So
Yeah, I
they-
know.
So, yeah, and they get paid based on the master meter, so it's a bigger meter than you and I have in our yard, so they're paid a flat fee on that, and then, the monthly usage, and they now want to be billed for the 5 meters that we gave them. I think they're gonna find out later on that they're costing themselves, because there's a monthly minimum, whether there's any water used with those meters or not, but that's their request.
Yeah, but I think that's just from a business point of view, so they can gauge, let's say, in the laundry room.
Yeah.
If there's more water being used in the laundry room, and let's say they have 4 washing machines, they may wanna raise the rate, so I
Yeah.
think that's just from a business point of view. But I agree with you completely on that, because the meters were bad, the commission become forward.
To sit and say today that their bill should have been an average of 1,500 and go back and divide that 30,000 by however many quarters have been there.
There's no way you
Yeah.
can figure that out.
I wouldn't feel comfortable giving somebody that bill. and
I
saying this is-
appreciate that, I really do, because I don't want my lot rate to go up. I agree, thank you very much, Jim.
If we can have, if Scott hasn't done it already, but review. Then we have, Scott review the agreement that was signed by Lee to,
I don't know whether it was,
ensure that we're not,
I think it's just that verbal.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of it.
And he memorialized it.
Well, the commission had agreed upon.
Yeah, it was done under a consent meeting. That it was just done at consent, they agreed to charge the May 77th. So I don't think there's an actual contract. Was there, Roxanne, do you recall? That consent agenda, was there a
It was
contract?
before
Or was
Roxanne.
it just a dollar amount?
Is that explanation right there on the
That was
inside?
that was in the consent
That's all it was, yeah.
the handshake agreement is just as good as a contract.
Yeah.
So, if we agreed that we were only gonna charge them at 87 for the 2 cycles, we can't go back and bill them the whole bill.
Well, the
Because-
agreement, according to that, the agreement was, we would go back and then readjust historically.
Yes.
And what Jim has recommended is, that's gonna be hard to do, let's not do that. But Charlene's right, it's not unreasonable to say, look, we're not gonna go all the way back, but we are gonna go back 2 billing cycles when those new meters went in and we know they're accurate. So we'll forego back going further retroactively, but pay for those 2 meters because those were accurate. So we're still, the verbal agreement was, we would go back and adjust all of them. So I think we can go back and say, this is what we're gonna do. Don't push our hand off.
Right, well, the 2 cycles is fine, we
this revenue, what happened to it? Here's the motion, here's the deal, everybody's got all, so that's more of an accounting issue, and then the fact that you don't want the fund to show that it's owed this money, because you're not gonna get it, it's like somebody, it's like my saying my son knows, right?
All fine.
Well, I think what happened once the commission made the decision, they were still getting the big water bills. You know, somehow it didn't pass over to the water department billing, I think, and so the bills were still going
I
up.
wasn't here when, or I had just got here. and
Just got here.
Billing then.
I think that it would have been okay if we hadn't waited so long to get the new meters. I think that was the general, the idea when it happened, because I spoke to someone about this later, and if they would have gotten the meters in a timely manner, we wouldn't be having to go back $30,000. So I'm fine with that, but like I said, I don't want to go these two with the new meters, so.
I make a motion that we write off any billing prior to 2 cycles ago.
Prior to the new meters, just say
Prior to the new meter.
Yeah, and we know that she's like, so that covers it. Yeah.
But then it's conditioned on them paying back to the correct billing when the new meters were installed, and all billings that occurred after the new meters were
Right.
installed.
What is
What is
the
that?
commercial rate?
It's uniform, it's not, they don't have any
Interlocal
rate.
rate per thousand,
I'm sorry,
the rate per thousand gallons,
Yeah.
7.79.
that's commercial all the way across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, any commercial entity with that size meter, they have rates, it's not a specific rate with them, any, it's based on the size of the meter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how much is the
There's a 4-inch meter, it's like 420 something for base.
Second Rover's motion.
Motion second. Any comments from the audience? None?
I do not have any.
No comments? Okay. Motion moved in second. Zone one,
Yes.
zone two.
Yes.
Zone three,
Yes.
zone four, and I vote yes. So passed.
That resolves one. What was the other?
Notifying them, correct, was the other part of that? You said you needed 2 pieces, one was.
To waive the balance that's been carried.
You did.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We'll waive the balance. What was the other one?
No, I said there were 2 things, one was to let them know the agreement's done, we paid your bill, and the other was to write off.
Oh, okay.
Do that all in one.
Right, and the only modification you made on me was, we're going back 2 cycles,
Right.
they pay that, not,
And I'll get with Aaron tomorrow what the difference was on those bills, and then I'll let them know what was done tonight, and just the balance on there, and then from this point.
How soon do you think that we'll get the other 5 years?
They've already been delivered, so,
She says they put them out.
Fully metered.
Now, if they, Jim, you said that you think that it may cost them more, can they take them out? If it's costing them more, do they have that option?
Ricky's not here, so I'd like Ricky to be involved in that discussion, because I don't know how that works, but, I mean, we didn't charge them for the 5 meters, so, I mean, there might be some issue in the sense that they want them out, or whatever, that I don't know if there could be some cost involved, I mean, in terms of, if they were very, very insistent that they wanted
Oh, yeah. No, I
5
think I
meters,
know.
and each one of
We had a
them,
conversation.
each one of them has its minimum, whether any water went through it, they'll pay a minimum.
I think we're all right.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, the pool, the laundry room, the clubhouse.
Okay. Moving right along. Zone 2 Commission selection. It's been brought up in previous commissions where we sat as Zone 2 Commissioner, and an anomaly occurs when Zone 2 or Zone 4 want to run for the mayor's seat. They have to resign their seat first time that I ran and lost, I was reappointed to the seat. The second time that I ran and lost, I was reappointed to the seat, but it was only after a motion to seat me, it got a second, but it did not get a third. Then a motion for someone else who was up for that seat could not get a second. So we kept going back and forth. Of the number of names that were on that dais or on that with me, Roger, Alan Cook, myself, and Queen Cherry. Queen Cherry was the one that stayed in. Cookie backed away, said he would not be considered. Roger also said that he would not want to be considered because he said that it would be continuity. That was why he decided. So it was only the two of us, Olivia Cherry and myself. We had two commissioners, Basso and Connell, and they were, I get a motion, got a second, couldn't get a third. At some point, I think Scott kind of made the suggestion that maybe we should put it off because it seemed like this was it was a stalemate, so to speak. But not to be outdone, we did have another motion, and in that motion, I was picked, and then the vote was 3-1. So I was then got the seat. The third time that I ran, I had no intentions of running for a third time in that seat to be considered. That was Charter Review was recommending that they create something called the Burton Rule. And the Burton Rule would have said if you're in a zone 2 or 4 and you ran for mayor, so that you wouldn't have to go through what the Burton Rule allowed happen, that we would not be able to have that seat to be considered for the seat. The ballot amendment did not pass, and so there is no such thing as a Burton Rule. However, the way that we're in the situation now, we have 3 seats that are up for election, re-election. We have a new city administrator that would be taking the seat. So Roger is running for the mayor. He had to resign the seat. It's been my idea, would have been a consideration that if we have, while we have 5 members of the board, that we allow citizens in this particular, it's only for zone 2 and zone 4. If you're in zone 1 and zone 3, you don't have to resign because you're already running. So it would be, from my estimation, and this is up to the commission to decide, if we have let's say our next meeting, which is October, we can have a special meeting if necessary.
We have another meeting this morning, next week.
Right, okay, that's, I figured this. If we had a meeting where we would have applications, I think we idea that I was able to run 2 successive times and then be reappointed, that was I'll say, an anomaly. I did not come up a third time, because I was dealing with something, my family issues that I did not want to see. I myself am not running for Zone 2, so don't get elected to mayor, then I'm not putting my name on that list. I can't anyway. So this would give the city something that could provide what a charter review could have done, which would have allowed the eliminated 2 zone commissions who were to, if they should, desire to run for mayor, that they would understand that they would not be reconsidered on the back end. That was what that Burton rule would allow. The fact of this situation being 3 commission seats are up for grab, or up for election. I'll repeat myself, we have a new city administrator. I think the city, we deserve to have the best board that we can and field the best personnel that we can possibly have. Because it's only for the unexpired term, because whoever gets the seat would have to run again in the next year, because this is not a running year for Zone 2. But the next year, 2026, that zone, whoever, if it were to replace them, it would be their zone up for re-election. So that's my idea, and I'll listen to the commission and Roger, of course, because he is definitely implicated in this.
Well, when Vernon mentioned it during his comments at the last commission meeting,
You see other members of the day.
Told you it was one.
and when Mayor Vernon Burton mentioned it at his comments at the last commission meeting, it kind of caught me off guard with the way he presented it, so I went back and looked at the past, and I found all the things from 2019 where he was running for mayor against Daisy Ransler, and meeting at on Tuesday, November the 26th, when it was constant tie votes, 2 wanted him in, 2 didn't want him in, and it kept going back and forth until Buddy Snowden got up and directed his comments almost directly towards Daisy and had her understand that she is allowed to change her vote if she wants to. And then Daisy changed her vote, and that's where it ended up getting 3-1 for Vernon to be put in his seat. It was a long, long time, about 4 or 6 hours of debating back and forth. But prior to that, in October 10th meeting, they passed a resolution, and I'll read the heading of it. The resolution of the City of Lake Helena, Florida, establishing the appointment process to fill the vacancy of the City Commissioner Zone 2 due to the resignation of Commissioner Vernon J. Burton, setting candidate qualifying dates and setting a date for a special City Commission meeting for the appointment of a candidate who shall serve the balance of the unexpired term of Commissioner Vernon Burton. And it goes on and it explains all the qualifying timelines and everything, giving the people a chance to do it, and giving them time to be able to go out and do all the process, getting the signatures, getting everything done so that they could get their name on the list for the commissioner seat. A few of us did it, and like they said, when it came down to it, we tried to get Miss Jerry to join in with us to go ahead and pull her thing, but she didn't want to. She was steadfast in her things, and that was her choice. But the resignation takes effect on the first meeting after the election in November. So that, from that meeting, and in the November meeting, Vernon got up and gave his departing speech and left, and they ran the rest of the meeting with 4 commissioners. And then they had a special meeting and went through the list to get the 5th commissioner on board. And that's the same process I think we should use, just like we did last time, because our charter allows for that process. It has not been changed to do like what a lot of cities are doing, to where if you have to resign your seat to run for an office, you have to take off, I think, a minimum of a year before you can run again. If you lose the election, you have to take off a year before you can run for office again. There's a lot of cities that do that. Ours doesn't. There's a lot of them that don't, that follows the same way ours does. So it's a choice that the citizens would have to vote on to change the charter and do it otherwise. But I'd recommend doing it the same way we did it in 2019 with the resolution. Finish it from there.
Okay, you could refresh my memory, right? You said that, I was, I did say I wasn't gonna run. And after it was known that I wasn't gonna be considered for the seat, then the commission took, said it again. After I decided I had kept my swan song, and
You gave your departing comments.
so that would mean that I wasn't to be considered.
Yeah,
Right.
it was at the installation ceremony. They gave Administrator Becky Whitty administered the oath of office to newly elected commissioners, Kelly Frasca, Commissioners Humphrey, Rick Basso, and Mayor Daisy Grassley. Then after that, parting words from the commission to former Vice Mayor Vernon Burson. So, I think the only commissioner, Tom Wilson, didn't show up, but he didn't run for re-election.
Okay. Lisa?
I feel really uncomfortable with this, knowing what happened in the past, knowing what could possibly happen in the future. Basically, I guess I want to ask a question. Roger, if you do not win the mayoral seat, would you want to be appointed back to seat 2?
I would follow the process that's in this resolution,
Which says yes.
which, yeah, I would want to finish filling out my term. So I would follow this requirement in the resolution to get reappointed to my position.
Okay. So in the past, when the Burton rule was in effect, did any citizens get any application whatsoever to fill that seat?
The first rule was just a discussion.
That's really not just using that facetiously
All right,
almost.
go ahead.
So,
There were 3 citizens that put in applications to fill Vernon's seat plus Vernon.
okay, so
So
there
there's
were other
there's a total of 4
applications.
that put in.
Okay.
Actually, it was, I wasn't put up to run, I didn't run that the second time.
No, I'm talking about the 2019 one.
19,
Yeah, 2019.
15, 19, and 21.
So, basically, following what Roger's saying here, the resolution, he would be able to make application after he goes off the dais for 5 seconds, and then can make application, come back on again, to be voted on.
Yeah, specify a period of time, but I have, if I win the mayor race, I have to resign before I can be sworn in as mayor.
Right.
So,
Technically, you've already resigned.
Yes.
Well,
It's, you
But
resigned
the
to.
official-
Yeah, because it's irrevocable.
It's
So,
irrevocable
win or
resignation.
not, the seat's vacant.
but I've got at the meeting of, that's,
Just say your goodbyes to the citizens and
So,
then raise your hand.
I didn't know you were supposed to.
You asked Roger that question, you asked me that question. If I lose the mayor's seat, do I want to be zoned to
You
commission?
know, you just said you didn't
I'm
want to.
just making that
You
point.
already said, I already got your
I'm not
answer.
running for his seat, no.
So, no, I already got your answer.
Okay.
If we go by this resolution, if we redo this resolution, Roger could sign back up to run for that, but he wouldn't be the only one. Anybody can.
Anyway.
So there would be people you would have to choose between.
The only charter requirement is that within 30 days of the vacancy, the commission fills the vacancy. The vacancy will occur at the organizational meeting in November. That's when whoever is elected is installed. Roger's seat will be vacated on that day. You have 30 days from that day to fill the vacancy.
Can you change this resolution to add that 30 days in, or is
It's
it in
in.
this
It's
resolution?
in the
It's in
resolution.
the resolution, because I think that's boy, there's so much going on that night, and then to try to flip a seat back, I would like to be able to look at the candidates, and this, like I said, this makes me very uncomfortable, because it's been out, around the table that as far as being a team or not, but it makes me feel like we're really not a team in this kind of position. So I think that in fairness to other citizens and in fairness to Roger, that we should be able to at least have up to that 30 days to make a decision.
Yeah, you do not have to reappoint at the organizational meeting.
The way I feel about it is, if you're gonna resign your seat to run for another seat, then you need to resign that seat, because what do you got to lose? I mean, it's like, we should all just ran for mayor, and then just come back up here and get our seats back. Cause I literally
Yes.
considered running for mayor this time, but was like, I don't wanna, do that. So it's kinda like I don't know, it's kinda like telling your child, you go ahead and do that, because you can always come back and fix it later. It makes no sense to me. I don't like it at all. I think that if you resign, you should set out that year and then run for the next time it's up. That's just my personal feeling.
I had the opportunity to do something that it had not been done before, as far as my knowledge, is that a vice mayor or a zone 2 resigned his seat irrevocably and then lost the mayor's seat and then asked to have the seat back. I don't know the history on that, but in my time, this was something that I was surprised that I could even do it the first time. The second time, it also showed the cracks in having it go any length of time with us not having 4 or 5 people to make that decision. And this side, I guess the only thing it is, on this side of the election, there are 5 commissioners here, and one of the things that I understand about a commission is that you can do whatever you want as a commission. You can make a rule, you can make a motion, you can make a second, and we can decide. We can do this now, and then the process can be the same as to who we are being vetted. The only problem is that Roger can't be vetted because he's still in the seat. So I think again, I'm pointing to the elephant in the room, that there's 3 people that are going to be up for reelection. We don't have seen it since, 2019. I don't remember what I did last week. So now,
You know, what we can do, we can bring a resolution to you in September, next meeting. And either you can set the date to fill the vacancy at your October meeting, or you can set it for sometime in November. And that's when you'll make your decision on, because if you do it in October, Roger's a candidate, he has to be, he cannot be eligible. If you set it for November, after the election's over, Roger would be eligible if he didn't win the mayor's seat. But you can decide that in October. You can sometime, or in September, in a week, you can decide when are you going to have set the meeting. Because I assume that resolution has a date that sets a date forward as to when everything, you're gonna have to submit your application by this date, and the commission will, I think Roger said there's a special call meeting to select. Do you want, or you can change it to say we'll select at our regularly scheduled October meeting, or we'll call a special meeting in November. You know, y'all can decide when you're gonna make that decision, because you're gonna have to adopt that resolution at some point. And you might as well do it next meeting, and then you can decide in the next week's meeting how you wanna handle it. And that gives you a week to think about it.
Well, my parting words are, as I agree with Commissioner Bishop, especially when you sign a letter with the supervisor of election that you're signing your irrevocable resignation, that possibly we might look towards the state laws in that area, even though I know we're the municipality and can do this. You're taking a big leap, signing a letter saying, okay, I'm leaving my seat, I wanna run for another seat, I'm taking a chance on winning, but if I lose, then maybe I'll take a chance on going back. And it just is, it gets really messy, and I think it's hard on any other commissioner sitting here who's worked with commissioners for 2 years or 4 years or however long. I think something needs to be done to make it, this is the way it is from now on.
Well, that was, as we discussed, that was proposed in the charter amendment to address that issue. It didn't pass, so, you know, our current situation, you don't really have the time to try to adopt new rules.
I know.
So, you know, the question is, is Roger gonna be able to submit an application for consideration, that we can be selected, to be appointed to the vacancy of C2 in the event he doesn't win the mayor's seat? You know, if you appoint in October, he doesn't have that option. If you appoint in November, he has the option. You can't tell him not to. He has that option because he's qualified to be reappointed. Whether or not you already appoint him, totally different question. But it's just a question, do you do it in October or do you do it in November? It's really the question.
And
Because
it's
I just want to make it clear, you can't tell Roger he can't submit an application after the election's over. He can, he qualifies, presumably he's sitting there. So he qualifies to be in zone 2. He can submit an application pursuant to our rules. Y'all don't have to appoint him. It's a totally different question. But he can't submit an application in October. Can be considered.
I'm leery about, is this going to change the charter? Because you're talking about doing it from here on in, so it's going to change the charter without the citizens being allowed to vote on it. It would be the commission changing the charter.
No, this would only be a one-time, because you can't mandate another commission, another.
They were saying
No,
about
no, that was
from this time point
Lynn had
forward.
said, but no, the next commission to come in, and they adopt their own set of rules, so you can't bind a future commission. You can only deal with, this resolution only dealt with 2019.
We find the future commission every motion we make, especially when it comes to purchasing stuff.
They can all be undone, they all can be undone.
But that's really just a question. I mean,
Which
Because this is a regular meeting, or it's a meeting that we're voting on, could we make that decision tonight, or if we want to fill the seat in October or November?
Oh, you could. You could say, bring back a resolution with it, you're still gonna adopt the resolution, you're not adopting it tonight. When you adopt the resolution is when you're actually gonna set it.
Okay, so.
So you can direct staff to bring it back with a October meeting to be,
Do I need to make that a motion?
that's a key.
I need, okay, so I'll make a motion that the staff bring back a resolution to make the, October date to fill that seat.
To select somebody to fill the seat in the
To
vacancy.
select someone to fill that seat after the election.
I second it.
Motion moved in second. Is there any audience participation? Would you like to add something?
I'll leave
Sarah, yeah.
Hi, I'm Holly Duro, 222 North Lakeview Drive. I just have a question. Does a governor have to resign when they decide to go for a Senate seat? Why would you have to resign when you've been elected to that position?
It's state law.
State law.
State law.
For,
Yeah.
For municipal, the state is different. They passed a special law for the governor, so he didn't have to resign.
okay. So my next question is then, if he passes away or he decides to resign, then you have to get someone anyway to have this position. So you're saying he has to resign in order to.
He's already resigned. He's already resigned.
I had to submit the letter for,
So you're resigning right now?
No, he gets to serve until the election.
I had to sign a date when the resignation would take effect.
I just trying to.
Yeah, state law dictates.
State
that.
law.
I like to watch governors run
Yeah,
before.
senators, congressmen, they have different sets of rules for them. Anybody lower than them, a county commissioner or city commissioner, you have to resign your seat to run for another office.
So the resignation bylaw, it's called the resign bylaw. And what it says is the effective date of the resolution, of the resignation, can be no later than the latter of, or the earlier of, when the seat he's running for, he would go into office, or his vacancy, whoever his replacement takes. So that happens to be the same time. His resignation, if he was to win mayor, he would take over at our organizational meeting in November, which is the same time that the replacement will also take office. So at the organizational meeting, by law, it says it's an irrevocable resignation. So he's irrevocably resigned. So at that organizational meeting, by law, there will be a vacancy. And our charter says from the time that vacancy occurs, you have 30 days to fill it. Doesn't mean that we can't put in place before the vacancy occurs, because we know there's going to be a vacancy. We can't put in place who's going to fill that vacancy when it actually occurs. If we do it in advance, Roger can't put his name into consideration in the event he doesn't win, because he doesn't qualify, because now he's a candidate for mayor.
I guess the hard part for me to understand is, the people vote them in. So why not make the people say? Why not allow the people?
You will have a say when he runs for mayor, you can
No,
vote
that's
for
what
him
I'm
for
saying.
mayor.
Why not allow them?
Because the state law says he has to resign in order to qualify to
I
run.
understand that,
Okay.
but why not allow him to run again after he resigns because the people decide anyway?
He could a year when the seat is up for election, he could.
But per our charter, given
He's
the length of
resigned,
time,
so it's vacant.
it's
The
basically.
state required us to come up with a charter on how to deal with it, and they have guidelines in the state statutes on how it's to be done, and we follow those guidelines.
Right, and I
Our charter
totally
requires
understand that, but what I'm saying is, he's resigned,
Mhm.
you can't change that.
Right,
You're gonna have to fill a seat anyway,
by appointment.
By these
Okay,
by
If-
then.
voted by you. So
if
you're-
the
so you are getting
resignation,
a voice.
if the resignation takes place prior to the November election, that means that I'm not serving more than a year. They have to have an election to fill my spot. If it's a year or less, which would be after the November election, then they can appoint somebody to fill my spot.
That's what our charter says.
Now, I can change my letter, resign now, and then it forces them to have an election.
knows this, and he's serving and choosing to serve the people. But then honestly, he could resign right now and have the ability to still have the people to choose, if he felt the board was gonna vote him in. Right? So it's his conscience.
If he resigned now, then the city would have to conduct an election, special
And it
election.
would be an expense for the city. I'm choosing to wait to save that expense.
Right.
Anyone else?
There's been a motion in a second.
Yes, I was getting public comment.
Just remember,
Thank you.
or just remind us, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Is anyone else?
Before we make a vote,
Yeah.
a little bit of discussion, so I thought about this extensively, and my thoughts are a little bit different than, the two commissioners at the end, and although I do agree with the sentiments that, you all have provided, my thoughts are that, if we want to have the person with the most experience, to do the job, to someone that's already been voted in, so the public's already said that they do want him here in this capacity, for them to, to have the most applicants, to have the best option to fill that seat. Also, we don't have to vote for Roger. We can get to November and we can have 4 other applicants, and we can choose not to, or even one other applicant. We don't have to put Roger back in the seat, if we so choose not to. Not that I'm advocating one way or the other. And then that also allows us for more time for our citizens to have input, to vet and, have the candidates campaign so that the public is more informed on, the decision. So I'm looking at it a little bit differently, not from a Roger, as the person, but as the situation, and, and remove, not that you all aren't, I'm just trying to make sure my thoughts are really clear, because I've used your name. So if I'm thinking about it, in what might be best for the citizens, I think the best thing we can do is leave it open to the most options and the most time and the most, so that we can vet who, and then have the input again from the citizens. If they so choose it, who they want here, we can have their input. Those are my thoughts.
At what time can the applicants start filling out applications and submitting?
We bring the dates so that if we bring this back, if the motion passes, we bring those dates so that it would tie in then, so that you could appoint in October. So, that would be in the resolution to come back.
Or November, whatever time.
Yeah,
We'll have the dates.
whichever, in terms of that, we put that in,
So that would give the commissioners here an opportunity to meet with the applicants and talk to them, and
It would be just like a regular political campaign thing.
right.
And this would take place in about at least 30 days, within 30 days, because there hasn't been, in my instances, there
one thing, you know, we tried to clear this up before, it didn't pass, and so that's another reason that I'm kind of hesitant to want to do the October, portion, just because, the public has already voted, you know, not to turn down some of that language, previously, and so that kind of makes me a little leery as well. But, you know, the whole thing's kind of uncomfortable, to be honest with you. You're voting on someone that you're with, so I understand y'all's, input, you know, to this, and, hopefully we can, find what's best for everyone.
What would the date be in October?
Jim? If there was an October date, what would that October date
Well,
be?
our meeting date is night.
Could we have a special meeting
Yeah, I mean, you could, yeah,
that
you
would
could
not
have a meeting, yeah.
interfere with a commission?
Yeah.
So you could have a special meeting just for the candidates.
And push that special meeting out as.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the organizational meeting in November will be the regular date of our meeting, that will be the second Thursday of November, which is the 13th. And it doesn't always happen that way, just kind of depends on how the calendar falls. Yeah.
Um, I agree with the special meeting. I'd like to see it go past the October 11th meeting. Many of us are campaigning now, many of us are really busy. But I would like to see it occur in October. After that, we'll have a special meeting. Because there may be questions that we want to go back and readdress with any candidates. Anybody, not, I guess is what we call it.
Was there another
It
call?
was wrong.
I just had a comment, I was just thinking about the elections, and if you have a meeting or you choose to take applications ahead of this race, you could inadvertently affect the mayoral race, because you're talking about telling people if people are gonna start talking about who wants to run for Roger's seat. And so it may affect how people vote, because they might wanna see that person in the seat or not in the seat. So now you're effectively running two elections at the same time. You know, does that make sense? Like, if somebody who everybody really likes has put their name in for Roger's seat, they might vote for Roger for mayor to make sure that seat gets open, or vice versa, you know what I mean? So, you know, you have voters that
Our
are
seats will be open enough.
It's open and closed.
Because his resignation is very good. He will resign on November 13th.
Right, but at least Roger would get an opportunity the next month to reapply or to re-put his name back in. If you're saying, you know, if you're effectively replacing him one way or another if you do it in October, which could affect how people vote in the mayoral race. It's kind of obscure, but it can happen, you know, because it hasn't happened before. You know, we're talking about choosing, to fill a seat for somebody who could
motion and a second.
But the question I put into the state was, can you fill a vacancy before there's actually a vacancy?
Yes.
But state law is different than personal opinion.
Well, and to be honest, there is not, if the commission, you included, make a decision on who should be the next city commissioner, zone two, they don't take the position until after the election. So we're not putting
Right.
anybody in any place, we're just trying to
But
facilitate.
you're locking
We're trying to facilitate
You're
what
locking.
I would think is a situation that is an anomaly. You have 3 people that are up for election. You have a city administrator that may not be here. So we need to be able to put some kind of consistency in this process. And I'm not advocating so that I can get the bump from people who say, well, if Roger goes away, then Burton's going to be in. I'm not getting that bump. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do what's best for the city. And as a city commission, that is our obligation, not to look at tomorrow in terms of where we're going to make our vote. We have a situation here in front of us right now that we can do something about. This commission right here has got the ability to make a decision, to fill a gap, and to provide an opportunity to continue. As you mentioned, and I respect you for that, when you withdrew, the one thing that you did say was that you understood how continuity would be of importance, and that's what gave us that. Any more?
When I,
One more card?
when I got elected, I said that I would abide by all laws and rules and regulations for the United States and the state of Florida and the city of Lake Ellen and the county of Volusia County. One of the rules and regulations we have that is binding by law because it's in the state laws is our charter. And I am still leery of us voting to change what our charter has available to citizens, whether they're sitting on a commission or not, until the citizens themselves change that charter or that law. I think we should abide by it. Us making other decisions in there. It doesn't matter if it would have been me, Heather, Charlene, Donato, or Vernon. If I would fight the same fight that our charter allows it. And for us to change our charter this way is violating our principle of allowing the citizens to decide what they want.
We're not changing the charter.
You are changing the charter
No,
by
we're not.
eliminating,
Just
by
like we're
sending
not.
in a everything that's going on.
Let's take a vote. Go after Nancy Stevens.
You got another card.
That's what I said.
Nancy Murray, 435 West Delaware. I'd like to suggest that maybe we, the commission, looks at the resolution that was done in 2018, 2019.
Yeah, we just did.
Yeah, because I think there was some continuity in waiting till November to allow for everybody. And like Commissioner Rutledge said, I think there's, for the citizens, and I'm not opposed to whatever, happens, but I think it would be better to give everybody the due time. They did it before and it was successful, so I think we should try that.
Anyway,
Now, the next question is Roger allowed to vote
Yeah.
on this?
yes, as long as he has no conflict of interest, so it would be, you have to vote. Okay, zone 1.
What do we vote?
We're voting to do it in October, to have them bring back a resolution.
session.
Right ahead.
Well, the executive session is probably closed, so you're closing the meeting
Okay,
to the public at that point.
we have to have a recording.
Before we go into that, I've got a question on, I've been getting phone calls again, I get them every year, on the traffic on Pleasant Street for Ivy Pond. And I brought it up to the city administrator about if we could put up a
up at St. Barnabas, because let me tell you, as tiny as that road is in that little neighborhood, they got it under control with their traffic in and out of there, and you better not mess up.
Thank you. Yes? Where? Oh.
Yes. Hey, I'm having to run 691 Pleasant Street. It's not about kids not being able to go to school, because that's what I get hit with all the time. Well, you don't like kids, you don't want, I've been doing head cases for 36 years. It has nothing to do with not having an education for the children. It is, and I have nothing against LHPD at all. I'm not saying it's their responsibility to be out there. I don't expect them to be out there, right? Are we supposed to be out there for speeders? Yes, I get that. The problem is they do park the damn car. They do put that thing in park. Okay, my daughter's an educator too, okay? She works here in Volusia County for our ESE kids. When she wants to come home, she's literally beating her own horn the other day to try to get in our driveway. Okay? Guess what? They want to flip my child off, 25 or not, okay? Flip her off because she's trying to get into her own home, because she had to leave early, because she needed to get home, leave back out for an appointment. And I got Ivy home parents flipping my child off at my property. Okay? We're parking cars whenever we feel like getting there, thumping out music, people can't even do freaking Zoom calls without having to go to the back room of a house. Okay, I'm not saying that every parent at Ivy Home is a disrespectful parent, and I'm not going to say that. Because like anywhere, we have parents that just don't listen, right? And you can only do so much. And I understand that, right? And also as a coach, I deal with parents on nonstop. But what I'm saying is when you cannot leave your property, we have businesses that are holding out for 15 minutes, can't get out their road. People that are nurses trying to come back home that live on our road, can't get the heck back home. And they don't just sit their car in drive to take off and on a rolling, no, they're parked. And when we have people parking too, like you sit there and I got the street blocked, right? I'm sorry, I'm going down my street. I'm not going in a whole nother way to get to work. Okay, and then you've got cars going on the wrong side of the road because that's the only way we can get by. To get out.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, it's gotta be fixed.
Appreciate it. Explain that executive session. Explain it. What do you want us to do? You want us to
You got that?
empty the room? Okay. The discussion is closed. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.
Secrets don't make friends. No, I'm just kidding. You're being kicked out, man.
Oh, yeah.
There's a record of it, but you don't stream it.
Okay.